Hi, my name is Mo Peters, and this is my career path project. For my first career, I chose an elementary school teacher. This is my first career choice because it is my overall goal job. I've previously worked with kids all throughout high school. I was working at our elementary school program with one of my favorite elementary school teachers that I had, and it was by far one of the most memorable things I did throughout high school. What I did usually when I worked with these kids is I was working with the kids that were a little slower paced, I guess, or they struggled with specific things. I would pull them to the side and be more one on one with them and give them a lot more time. So I have worked with creating lesson plans. Usually the grade level I'd like to go in is third grade, so usually you're creating lesson plans that are multiple subjects. You're not just teaching one like in high school, so it's going to be like reading, science, math, all those great things. And it does take a lot of qualities. You have to be a great communicator. You have to be able to listen well to these kids because a lot of them are struggling. It's a really important phase for them. They're starting to learn their multiplication and stuff like that. So they're really struggling with like anything. So you have to be able to listen and be able to take what they're saying and apply it and try and help them in the best way. You have to collaborate well with them and others. Sometimes other teachers, you find that they have a better process of doing things or they have a better lesson plan. You have to be able to collaborate with those teachers. And being able to adapt. I mean, I would love to teach third grade, but maybe I end up teaching second or fourth. And so I feel like being able to adapt with this job career is really important. You have to be very compassionate and very patient because, again, this is a really important part of these kids' development and they're learning a lot. And it's got to take, your patience, and you got to be, some of them are going to be troublemakers. I mean, I can't, have the perfect class, and so you just got to be patient. For when I looked at the OOH more information, their job growth was about 4%, which is average for this career. The salary median is about $61,350 per year, but that can range in state just like any other job can. I looked more at like jobs in California because that's where I'd like to go. I'd like to go back home and teach. And this was probably one of the more median ones right here. There are other states that are probably maybe going to be more or less, but I looked more in California, so this is a median for California-ish. But your entry-level education is a bachelor's degree, but also you do have to complete a teaching certificate and a background check. The teaching certificate, it kind of depends on like what state you're going to. So California is really like strict that you have to get your teaching certificate in California. But some other states, if you get it, like if I get it in California and I end up wanting to teach in Idaho, so to speak, I can take my degree from my teaching certificate from California and I can go to a lot more places. I don't know why, but the California one is a lot more flexible. I think it's because it's more advanced or something like that. I do have a couple of teacher friends that have said that it's more vigorous and it's that way for a reason, so you can take it to other states. For my second career choice, I picked special ed teacher. This was kind of a hard one for me because I did want to become a teacher, but I didn't know how far I would want to go with being a teacher. But I did work with a lot of special ed kids also in high school. I was a part of another program that kind of allowed special education kids to come and be a part of like an ag class, and I surprisingly worked well with them. Sometimes I don't have the best patience, like having to repeat myself over and over and over again, and sometimes like I would get frustrated a little bit faster, but with this one I remember specifically in high school, like, really enjoying it, and so I think it would be something that I would really enjoy, and also I have a couple mentors that are special education teachers, or they have, like, previous job history, in that area, so it is something that I would like to explore if I can. I mean, there's always job options out there, and I mean, hopefully I can get a good job, whether it's special education or not. I think it's good to have a wide range, but it does require a lot more than elementary school teacher. You do work with a lot of kids with a lot of disabilities. It can be a learning disability, it can be a mental disability, emotional, a physical. And what's the toughest part is sometimes you're teaching those kids basic skills, like how to properly talk to someone, how to say thank you and you're welcome, and just the basic skills that, I mean, we are kind of taught as kids that they're still struggling with. And I mean, even in high school, you see a lot of it still. And I really was fortunate enough to have a mentor who was in special education, and she really helped me through that time period of helping these kids and was explaining a lot. So I know that I would have a lot of help if I ever were to go back to my hometown and teach in that area. You are working with kids that do have special needs as well. So, like I said, you're teaching them some new basic skills, but there's some things that they're not going to be good at, or they have just like a disability, which is just a little bit more tough. When I looked at the OOH information, your average job growth was about 4%, which is around the average for special education teachers. Your salary median is about $61,820 a year. Your entry level is a bachelor's degree, but you also need a teaching license. It's a little bit different than a teaching certificate, but it's not as there's not as many in each state. Like, you can get one general and you can apply it to each state. But also when I was looking at some of the jobs on like Indeed and stuff like that, when again I was looking back in California because that's where I'd like to move, a lot of teaching jobs required a little bit of history and a little bit of background in the field. Not like 5 years in the career or whatever, but like a little bit of history, like a teacher's aide kind of a thing. You need just a little bit, so that way you're not just thrown into the job and it's a mess right away. It can also, depending on where you're at, it can include some benefits. I did find a couple, I think it was like in the LA County area, where it did have some other benefits. Like, it had like housing offered, which is really cool and really nice. Not that I would want to live in LA County because that's crazy, but that was pretty cool to see. The number of jobs currently is about 476,300. And then for my third career, I chose a librarian or a library media specialist. I don't have much experience with this other than I have had amazing librarians all throughout high school and college. I remember my freshman year of college, I really struggled trying to find some books in the library. And I remember spending hours and hours, and the librarians were just so nice. And I thought, hey, why not be a librarian? I mean, I kind of like working with kids, and it's still that option to be able to work with kids, and you're still teaching them how to use resources. It's just in a different aspect. You're teaching them how to use library sources, like how you can find a book, how you can be responsible and check in a book, and when you check it out, and when it needs to be brought back, and if you need to renew it, then you can renew it. There's also, I feel like in high school I saw a lot of kids still learning like the basics of how to use library resources too. So I mean, I don't think that's something that's taught enough. I feel like it should still be taught. Maybe even in elementary school. I wasn't taught in elementary school. I was actually taught in high school, which is pretty crazy, I think. But like I said, there are locations everywhere. You have an elementary school one, middle school, high school. Where I'm from, we didn't have one in elementary. We had a little one in middle school. It wasn't very helpful. Basically what it was is like, it was like a storage room for all of our books that we needed for each class. Like, it wasn't super big or like full of a bunch of informational books, but I remember when I got to high school, it was kind of a little bit bigger. But where I really saw the difference in the library was when I got to college. I went to a JUCO, in a bigger city, and it was just crazy to see the library. And so I thought that was really cool. But when I was looking more into it, um, there's also, you're able to help them with like, help teachers with their lesson plans and resources. So, um, I recall that in an article it's talking about how you can be the person that is like helping them print things or like getting them paper if they need arts and crafts paper or something like that. I think that's more like obviously elementary school because you're doing a lot more of that stuff then. But that was really cool that librarians are there sometimes even when we don't know they are. When I looked more into the OOH information, their job growth was 6%, which although it is more than 4% than the last two jobs, it is still an average of this job. And their salary range is about $61,190. That is the median. Again, for all of these jobs, I was looking back in California, so these are the medians of like California areas. Your entry level education is a master's degree. So back in this slide, when you're a library and media specialist, it's different than a librarian, I learned. So in order to be able to go into a library media specialist expertise, you have to have a master's degree, and usually in library science, I think is what it was. And you have to have experience. You definitely have to have experience in the field. There are a lot of job options. I was looking all over. I wasn't just looking in California because this is probably one that I would rather not have to go into. I'd really like to go into teaching if I can. But it was really specific on having like a background in the area for sure. And the number of jobs is about 138,400. And you do need a teaching certificate. Funny enough, that was one thing that definitely shocked me about this career is you did need a teaching certificate, even though you're not teaching, you're teaching in some kind of a way, which was really cool to see. But those are my 3 careers. Hope you enjoyed my presentation.